Speakers, authors, coaches, ministers, and influencers, entrepreneurs. Today we have a message for messengers. Do you want to multiply your money, increase your influence, and accelerate your success? If so, you must monitor the metrics, know your numbers, and let the undeniable data determine your decisions. Because if you don't, I guarantee that you are leaving piles of money on the table, stepping over your biggest opportunities, and floundering in a pit of problems that are easily avoidable. Today, we're talking about the business of business and why monitoring the metrics matter.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Kingdom Builders Academy podcast. So good to be with you today, talking about a fun topic. We got a numbers topic today, and we're here with our live audience of our students. Let me just ask you guys in the chat, give me a yes or no in the chat. Are you a numbers person? I know there's words people, there's numbers people. Let me see. I just want to see from our live audience. Coach Sam, you consider yourself more of a words person?
I'm more of a words person, but I say that I'm good with money math. If it's math that involves money, suddenly I can do math. But if it's any other kind of math, where's my phone? I'm going to use my calculator.
Yeah. I'm more of a numbers person, right? You're a words person that can do numbers. I'm a numbers person that can do words, and usually there is that kind of divide of a numbers person or a words person. But we're going to talk about some important numbers that maybe you've never heard about, maybe that you didn't even know you should be paying attention to. Coach Sam, I did a little prep. Let me see. I think I've got 13 numbers, actually, and I've got them in 3 categories. So we're going to talk about the business of business.
I didn't count mine, but I have lots of numbers too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap in them, but we're going to talk about the metrics that matter in the business of business and what you should be monitoring in order to make better decisions and to gauge the growth and gauge the health of your business. So Coach Tam, do you want to kick us off? What came to mind first for you on this topic?
Well, I'll start with a question. And the question is, why do sports teams keep score? Why do they keep score? Well, it's the same reason that we watch how fast we're driving on the highway and we pay attention to how much money we have in the bank. It's because the metrics really do matter. Metrics enable us to know how well we're doing or how bad we're losing sometimes. And if we're paying attention, it will keep us out of a lot of trouble. So just to give you a little bit of a definition, metrics, that's the basic values that are used to understand historical trends. And this is huge in business, to have historical memory of how that last speaking engagement performed, how many people were watching this particular video, engaging in it, lets us know what to do more of, also lets us know what to do less of. Metrics enable us to compare factors and identify patterns and anomalies. Metrics help you find errors and problems. Now, if you're paying more attention to how many people like your post on Facebook than you are to, say, client conversions, or you're monitoring the wrong metrics when you do that. If you're monitoring your Instagram comments more than your website traffic and your sales, you're monitoring the wrong metrics. Now, over 100 years ago, Mark Twain, Zachary, I'm going to give you a little pop quiz on that very expensive private school education I gave you. Who was Mark Twain?
Author.
An author.
I think a lot of people could have passed that one, Coach Sam. We need harder questions.
And this was 100 years ago. It was before my time, before your time. But Mark Twain has this awesome quote, and he said, if the metrics that you're looking at aren't useful in optimizing your strategy, stop looking at them. You're wasting your time. For example, how do you know if your speaking engagement was successful? How do you know? You can't know unless you monitor the metrics. So whether the people seemed to like the event, everybody was happy, or they gave you a standing ovation, those are not the metrics that matter in the speaking business. So here's the metrics that matter for a live event. How many tickets were sold? What was the average ticket price? What about the client acquisition cost? What was the cost to put an attendee in the seat? How many people attended? What was the attrition rate between the people who bought tickets and the people who actually showed up? How many books or coaching programs did you sell? How many people did you get on your mailing list? What was the average dollar volume purchase per attendee? Now, if you don't know those numbers for absolutely every live speaking event, you have no idea how successful your event actually was or how to intelligently improve your results. Okay, here's another example. How do you know if your ad spend was a good investment? You monitor the metrics. What is the cost per click? What is the cost per lead? What is the cost per client acquisition? When your customers are buying something online, what percentage they start to buy the thing, but then they abandon the shopping cart? Okay, and at what point do they leave? Maybe something in your checkout process is hurting your sales. You'll never know unless you monitor the metrics. So those are some metrics, and I know Zachary has a whole bunch more for you, but I wanted to get you thinking on what are the things that matter in your business right now and building your brand and building your ministry. What are the metrics that you need to be monitoring? And those are some.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you framed it, because it is how we make decisions. It is how we make good decisions. Probably the most important and most ignored principle that I see in business is when you find something that works, do it again and again and again. Like that's just like such an important business principle that I don't want to say nobody, but a lot of people just miss. You know, you do something that works and like, okay, that was great. On to the next thing. Instead, it should be like a double down. In the way that we can really definitively know, instead of just going off of our feel and intuition, which has value, but also, you know, the other side of the coin is there's some hard numbers we can put on it. Like, okay, you did this launch. How much did you make? How did that compare to your other launches? Okay, you ran this advertising campaign. You ran this event. How much did it make? You know, how many people did you get to serve, right? Like we need to actually have some hard numbers to help us make hard decisions.
Right.
So I'm gonna break it down into 3 categories. And I love all the metrics that you shared, Coach Tam, and how you looked at it from events to advertising campaigns to checkouts, and hopefully you were taking notes and you can go back and listen to the replay because you categorized it yourself in that talk right there. But I've got 3 categories. Core business metrics, to me, these are just like the fundamentals, foundationals. If you get these right, it hardly matters about anything else. The marketing metrics, so these are kind of some of the advanced marketing metrics that you wouldn't know unless you're in the space. And hey, congratulations, you're in the space. If you're an author, speaker, coach, influencer, online entrepreneur, you're in the space. You better know these marketing metrics. And then third, we've got client experience metrics. These are ones that a lot of the marketers miss, is that there's actually metrics you should monitor around client experience. Again, so that you can make good decisions and so that you can gauge the health of what you're doing. Is your business healthy? Is your program healthy in terms of it's getting clients the results that they need? So let's jump into the core business metrics first. I'd say the number one is profit and profit margin. You know, like so many people track revenue. So many, like even our 100K sword award is like, you know, based on revenue. Like so much is like tracking revenue growth. But I'll tell you what's so much more important is profit. You know, revenue is almost a vanity metric because you could be making $10 million, but making no money because you got no profit, versus you could be making $1 million.
I've done that, and I've done it for a lot of years. Not fun.
Yeah, versus making $1 million and it's all profit. That's a much better business, right? I'd way rather have a $2 million revenue business that nets $1 million than a $10 million revenue business that nets $1 million, right? That $2 million business is a lot better business, even though it's doing 20% of the top line revenue. And of course, revenue is, you know, all the sales that you make. Revenue equals sales. Your total sales is your revenue. And then your profit is your sales minus all the expenses, advertising costs. You pay your coaches, you pay for your technology, and then you got your profit left over at the end. So profit and profit margin are the most important. Let me just talk a little bit about profit margin. For those of you who are on the 0 to 6 figures journey, you know, you're working from getting the startup, ground floor, all the way up to like $10,000 a month, you should be really profitable at that stage. Your profit margin should be like 80% plus. Like you might pay, $1,000 for your education. You might pay, $500 for your online business tools or something like that. So you got like maybe $1,500 in overhead and kind of a startup cost, which you compare that to like any other business startup. That's incredible, to have $1,000, $2,000 in startup costs. Normally, most businesses, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's good that we don't have that big of a nut to crack each month. But then like, hey, okay, let's get to $3,000 a month. Now we're at a 50% profit margin. Let's get to $6,000 a month. Now we're at a 75% profit margin, because of that 6,000, we've got 1,500 in cost. That means we got 4,500 in profit. That's 75% of our revenue. That's our profit margin. And we should keep that all the way up to $10,000, $12,000 a month. So at the beginning, during that first like giant leap from 0 to 6 figures, we want to have a very high profit margin. Once we start scaling from like 100,000 to 300,000, 500,000, a million, we're comfortable having a profit margin that's gonna shrink a little bit, right? We might be, making 100,000 and taking home 80. That's a great business, a great startup business. But hey, we'd rather make 500,000 and maybe we're not going to be able to take home 80%, but hey, can we take home 60% and net 300,000? That's a good business. So I want to just give you a couple numbers that like I'll take it in these two stages. Like 0 to 6 figures, you should have very low overhead, like $1,000, $2,000 a month. And that's like paying for your education, for your mentors, for your technology, maybe a VA or a contractor or a graphic designer, stuff like that, little things like that. We spend $1,000, $2,000 a month, in order to get ourselves up to $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month. Then when we get to 100,000 and we're looking to make the leap to $500,000 or $1 million, we're looking at investing in advertising. We're looking at investing in team, or maybe hiring coaches for our program, or maybe hiring an ads agency. Maybe we're paying more to outsource, video production for our content, right? So there's a couple things that I want you to think about. When we're looking at like, okay, we've got all of our revenue and now there's a couple pieces that are going to eat into our profit margin. One of them is that client acquisition cost. So I'm going to talk about kind of that cost per acquisition in a minute around marketing metrics, but your cost per acquisition, your acquisition cost, if that, you want that to like not really be more than 20% of your revenue. Okay. And then your team, you don't want that to be more than like 20% of your revenue. In team, I'm really talking about like if you have like coaches, if you have partners, if you have other people that like every time you bring on a client, they're going to get paid. You don't want that to be more than 20%. And then we still want to keep your overhead to no more than 20%. So those are real broad strokes, can be real flexible, but that leaves us at least with a 40% profit margin. And I would take that indefinitely. Like that's what we look at, with KBA of scaling, multiples of millions is like, we really want to protect, and we don't always hit that 40%. You are oftentimes in between the 30 and 35%. But if we can just set that target of our client, our kind of cost per acquisition, our marketing, advertising, all of that is like 20%. And then, offering the one-on-one coaching and the mentorship and the, technology and all of that, if we can keep that to another 20, 25, sometimes that gets up to 30%. And then our overhead, in that 20, 25% range, you can protect your profit margin. And that's, again, I'm talking now to the people that are 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7 figures and beyond. That's what kind of healthy profit margins look like. So that's a lot more than just like monitoring a metric. That's a little bit kind of just big picture on, hey, what does a maturing business look like? Like we're talking 2, 3, 5 years in. How does this business mature? What should my costs be? I know a lot of our advanced students have been asking those questions. So I wanted to touch on that. But for the 0 to 6 figures, your profit margin, like keep it to like 80%. Have $1,000, $2,000 a month in overhead, in your education, your technology, any support that you can bring on. Keep that to $1,000, $2,000 a month. So that, hey, when you're making 6 figures, you're netting 6 figures. You're not netting 50K.
Right. Excellent. Very excellent. The metrics are so important because if you're not paying attention to it, it's easy to think that you're doing well and you're not. And it's hard to improve. You can't improve what you don't measure, right? And I'll tell you, I grew a business for many years, a live event business for decades, close to 30 years. And I started off small, and I'll tell you kind of my experience with KBA too, because I think more of you will relate to this. But in Get Motivated seminars, we monitored the metrics in such a granular way that from the very first day of advertising, based on our sales, the very first day of advertising, we could tell within plus or minus 50 people, 100-person range, okay, plus or minus 50 people, we could tell how many people were going to attend that event in an arena of 20 to 30,000 people. Because we had the historical data and because we were monitoring it, and that's probably, I think, other than the grace of God, the number one factor that allowed us to do something that has never been done before or since. Nobody else has been able to do a live event business of that magnitude before or since for so long. And it's partly, maybe I would even say primarily, it's a big partly, because we were doing that monitoring for everything, and for all of our coaches and our ticket salespeople, and for whatever products and services we sold at the event, for the numbers of, what it's going to cost at the arena itself, for our AV, where we were constantly monitoring, constantly improving. And that's what allowed us to go from zero to $100 million a year business. So this is super, super important. But I want to just dial back for a second, and I want to tell you what my experience was in starting Kingdom Builders Academy, because it was a space that I didn't know. And like a lot of you who are here today live, a lot of you who are going to listen to this podcast, you haven't really thought of it in terms of monitoring the metrics to this degree. But it's that attention to the little details that will give you the historical data that you need, which gives you amazing power and economies of scale to grow your business. So when I first started doing client calls within KBA, for example, to invite people into my coaching program, I monitored the metrics to see how well I was communicating the value of the offer. And at first, when I would talk to people, I kept track. Now, how many people do I need to talk to get one person to sign up? And at the very beginning, it was about 1 in 8. 1 in every 8 people would buy into the program. And so I worked on my messaging, and then I got it to 1 in 5. I knew if I did 10 calls in a couple of days, 2 people are going to sign up. And then I got it to half the people, 50%, 1 in 2. Half the people that I spoke to would sign up. Okay, now that's a super, super good close rate, right? But I started then testing my price points and what I was including in the program. What if I bumped the price up a little bit, but I included all this other stuff? What if I lowered the price a little bit, but I took things off the table? And I got to an 80% close rate. So if I talk to 10 people, I know 8 of them are going to sign up. Now, if I had not been monitoring those metrics, I never would have known what was working and what wasn't working. And these are the kinds of things that you need to do if you want to scale your business, if you want to have more money at the end of your month, if you want to make more of an impact, right? You're going to have to pay attention to these things, because at the end of the day, even if you're in ministry, you're still in business. You have to pay attention to those business metrics. And I think that is, other than discouragement, Zach, I think discouragement foolishly takes a lot of people out. They just get discouraged and they quit. They give up on their dream. They wave the white flag. The devil wasn't even shooting arrows at them, but they were scared. And so they give up on their dream because of discouragement. That's probably the number one thing that takes people out. But number 2 is they think that it's okay to run their business like on the back of a napkin. Let me get my ballpoint pen and see if I can do a little bit of numbers here, and they feel good about themselves that they did something. No, you've got to monitor all these metrics and really pay attention to them, because when you do, the payoff is enormous, and you'll begin to like it. It will really begin to become fun to you to say, okay, this is what I did last time. Let's see if I can beat my best. And you'll find that you'll be beating your best again and again and again, because now you have a method that, they say numbers don't lie. Okay. Now you have a method that's telling you the truth about what your business or what your ministry or what your nonprofit is really doing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Coach Tam. Such good info. I don't know if we should do a part 2 on this. I can go quickly. I covered the first one of my 4 core business metrics. I still got 12 to go. So maybe we'll do a part 2 to do a deeper dive on this. If you guys are interested, tell us in the comments if you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, or tell us in the live chat here, all our students, if you want more. I see a lot of yes. So I'll cover 1 or 2 here, and then we'll do a part 2 another time on the metrics. Let me jump to maybe some client experience metrics. I'll save the marketing metrics and more of the core business metrics for the next episode. I'll talk about client experience metrics, because this is super important. If you want to have a scalable business, is you got to have a scalable product. You got to have a product that people really love. And, one of the core business metrics is monthly recurring revenue. If you can stack monthly recurring revenue, that is a beautiful thing, right? If you can just have like every month, like I know I've got 10K, 20K, 30K a month coming in. It just comes in every month. It's monthly recurring revenue. In order to do that, you've got to have a client experience or product or service or whatever it is that you're offering that people really love, and they stick and they want to stay. I heard one of our old business coaches say that it's results in relationships, that gets people to stay. Like if you want retention, it's results in relationships, and as it relates to a coaching program primarily. But a few of the client experience metrics that you want to monitor, one is time to quick win. Okay, so when we talk about building a great coaching program, a great client experience, we talk about we want to get quick wins, but play the long game, right? We want to have, like, if we can have a 1 year, 2 year program, or even like a mastermind that people can stay a part of for 5, 10 years, like that's the ideal. What we don't want is $1,000 client that they're gone in 90 days, and that was the end of our relationship. Ideally, we want something that, again, like people can just renew and we can retain them for many months and many years. But we also want to get a quick win. So I'm looking at time to quick win. So for example, for us, a time to quick win is getting clarity in clients. So we can take somebody from like, blank canvas, nothing but like a calling and a desire and a dream to help people. And like, hey, how can we turn that into a profitable business within 90 days? Because we've monitored it. We've, surveyed for it. We've tested it and we've tracked it. We know that within 90 days and 75, 80% of cases, we can help you go from nothing to $1,000 paying clients. Like if you will just plug in and do the steps, not more than a few hours a week, and just do it within 90 days, good chance that you're going to have $1,000 paying clients. So for us, that's our time to quick win, is that within 90 days, we're going to get you $1,000 paying clients. Think about that for your own product and service. Like what is it that within 2 weeks, ideally, or within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days max, like what is that quick win that you can reliably count on, that when this will help you so much too in your conversion and in your confidence. Like a lot of the problems, one of the key problems that we see that come to us is just not enough confidence in their offer, not enough confidence in the results that they can provide. So if you can dial in, like what is a quick win that within 30 days, my clients, my customers are going to get this result in their life, in their health, in their business, and whatever, right? In their marriage. Like what is the quick win that we can reliably deliver? And let's track that. Like within 45 days, this happens. Within 90 days, this happens. That's a client experience metric that probably you're not thinking about right now, but I would encourage you to think about and then track it. And that'll, one, make your program better. People are going to stick. You're going to have clients for longer. And two, it's going to give you real confidence that like, I know, not based on feel, not based on like my emotions, that I'm really helping people, but based on the hard numbers, people are getting this results in this amount of time, All right. So that's a huge one. It's just a time to quick win. Renewal rate is super important. We want to see 50% renewal rate, at the end of your 90 days, at the end of your 1 year program, whatever it is. We want to see like a 50% plus renewal rate. Churn rate. Churn rate is like, hey, I've got monthly recurring revenue. I've got people that are on a monthly subscription or typically that's what we're looking at with a churn rate, meaning how many people are going to fall off, how many people are going to churn out of our program. Your churn rate, it's just got to be single digits. As long as it's single digits, we're okay. If it's below 5%, we're doing great, right? If we're keeping it like below 5%, 2%, 3%, 4%, we're doing good. 7, 8, 9% is like okay. Like we're doing okay, but we're not doing great. If you're at 10% or higher, there's a problem. And that's, again, we just need to look at our client experience. Why are people churning out? Are we not getting them enough quick wins? Are they not building relationship? Maybe oftentimes, you know what? You're giving too much. You're putting too much on their plate. You're giving them too many lessons, too many classes, too many sessions, too much homework, too many worksheets, and they feel like I can't keep up. I need to take a break. Okay. Like that could be a problem. So just churn rate is something you've got to monitor because, again, if you got a 2, 3, 4% churn rate, we can say we're doing great. If we got a 8, 10, 12% churn rate, hey, we should really address this. Like, what can we do to do better? Because if 10% of your clients are churning every month, that's like 120% a year. You've got to more than refill your program every year. That's not going to compound. Versus if we have a 3% churn rate, we're going to lose 36% of our clients in a year. But, if we're refilling at like our normal 100% rate, that's going to stack. We're going to naturally grow like 40% year over year. And if you compound anything 40% year over year, it's going to be like millions and billions. That's just compounding. Last one is referral rates. How many referrals do you get per client, right? Like if you got one referral for every client, you're going to grow exponentially, right? If you get more than one referral per client, you're going to grow exponentially. That's very rare. Ideally, if you could get like 25 to 50% of your clients to give you a referral, if you got like 0.25, that's going to give you a 25% boost. If you get, 0.5 referrals per client, that's going to give you a 50% boost in your business. If you're not getting any referrals, again, it's like, hey, what am I not doing good enough in my program that people are wanting to share it? Because the cool thing about, or the interesting thing about referrals, like the reason that word of mouth works is because the person making the referral is, kind of getting like a status increase in your eyes. Like if Coach Tam, if I refer you to something that like is really great, like, hey, yes, I want to help you, but I also want you to see me as like a reliable friend, as like a reliable partner, as like somebody that is really adding value to your life. So people really only make referrals when they believe that it's going to improve, not diminish their kind of status in their eyes. Like I referred somebody to a mastermind that I'm in. And I was like, I wanted to check in right away and make sure like, hey, like, are you enjoying it? Because they made like a $50,000 investment. It's really important to me that they're like, not like, oh, well, that was a, waste of money. Now, Zach, I can't count on Zach to make a good referral. So the way referrals work is that people actually want to like improve their perception, like the perception that people have of them, because they're a reliable, value-adding contributor to their life. So people only make a referral when they really believe that it's gonna improve the other person's life. So that's how referrals work, is just by having a program that's so good that like, hey, like if I refer somebody to this, they're gonna be benefited, and that's gonna kind of benefit me just by the improved perception they have of me. So those are a few of the client experience metrics: time to click win, referral rate, renewal rate, and churn rate are 4 client experience metrics that probably most of you aren't monitoring right now. But if you want to have a better program that gets better results, that improves your confidence in your program and improves your ability to sell more of it and improves your client's ability to refer it and to stick for longer, like those are just, little things that you can do that's going to probably double your business quickly, as well as set you up for the 10x foundation that you need to grow in the long run.
Yeah. Excellent stuff, Zach. Fabulous. What a great episode. I think you're right, Zach. We have to do a part 2. Everybody's been loving it in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us on the Kingdom Builders Academy podcast. And we'll be back with you again. Another exciting episode coming up. Bye now.